Today we meet our member Alex. Alex and her partner Adam have 3 children between them and have recently returned from a 6-month RV adventure travelling around Europe. They drove thousands of miles and amongst other destinations explored Romania, Croatia and Norway. As Alex describes it, a 9-metre van seems big when you're trying to drive it, but small when you're trying to live in it. How did the family cope living in a small space? And what are their tips for saving money on the road? Tell me about your family then. How many members are you and what ages are your children?
Oh, well, our family's quite not complicated, but I bring 2 children to the family, which are 11 now and 8. They both had their birthdays while we were away. And then my other half, Adam, brings his 5-year-old daughter to the gang. So we've not been together that long. We only moved in together in the October, and then I said we should go traveling instead, and then we left in February. So we only lived in a house all together for about 6 months before we then downsized into a small van. One of our aims was, it was quite hard putting 2 families together, so it was a kind of, well, perhaps if we put it all in a really small space, we'll all just have to crack on and find our own level and our own balance within the family, and we'll just sort of do that over a shorter period of time.
Did you put that much planning into your route? You didn't have much time, did you? Or did you just decide to go with the flow and see where you fancied going when you got on the road?
We did a little bit of both. We talked about what we wanted to go and see, and then we had a few things that we definitely wanted to do. So I really wanted to go to Croatia. I really wanted to go to Scandinavia. And Adam really wanted to go and do a little bit more of Italy. And our littlest daughter has got, her grandparents live in Romania, so she doesn't get to see them very often. So we thought, why not drive to Romania? That's quite a long way away, it turns out. So by the time we put Italy, Croatia, Romania and Scandinavia into the mix, that was almost our trip laid out. But no, we had loads and loads of evenings arguing over the length of time spent in the country, how long it would take to drive places, where we should go, what we should miss out.
And did you plan any accommodation, well, not accommodation so much, but actually pitches for your holiday home on the way, or did you just wing it as you went?
So we planned one before we went away. I thought that after we'd been away for about 2 months, we would probably all be sick of driving and traveling, because I did do 6 months backpacking with a baby, and I remember planning in like a week's holiday here and there along the way and quite liking being stationary. So we planned it. In all honesty, it was kind of a bit of a pain because we kind of wanted to change our timings, but we had it booked in. But it was nice to stop for a week. And then we also stopped for about 3 weeks in Romania, so we knew where we were staying there. The rest of it was winging it all the way.
Oh, I love that. But then that gives you that freedom though, doesn't it? It's quite a nice feeling, I guess.
It mostly worked out really well. We had a couple of times where we didn't really know where we were going to stay, and it was getting dark and it was quite stressful, especially at the beginning because the campsites weren't open. But as we got more confident, we didn't worry so much about it. And then we met a family when we were in Croatia who had been motorhoming for about 8 months, and they were talking about this app that they used and that they didn't stay on campsites. They mostly just free camped and stayed in car parks or in restaurant car parks and things like that. And once we had a bit of confidence and we started using that, mostly we didn't stay in campsites after that. For us, everything was always about basics. It was always about where are we going to empty our toilet, because we have to empty the toilet in the motorhome. Where are we going to fill up with water? Where am I going to wash my clothes? That was kind of the 3 basic things all the time. But once we were in Scandinavia, it's the norm to free camp or wild camp. It comes under their right to roam. So you're not the only people doing it. So you don't worry too much about the safety aspect of it because everybody free camps. And it saved us quite a lot of money. We think we probably saved about £3,000 by not staying in campsites all the time.
Did it take a while to get into the flow, do you think, of traveling?
less time than I thought, but it's just hard living in a very small space with your children all the time. So if we had a couple of days where we all argued or we disagreed with where we should go next, then you go, why are we doing this? We could have argued at home.
And then got upstairs.
Yeah, and there's no escape. And because we've got 3 children, they all had to share a double bed. You couldn't, it was really hard if they were playing up, there was nowhere to send them. You couldn't really separate them into 3 areas in the van. So, and if a child was naughty, and you might say, oh, you know, you have to go and sit on the step at home. Well, there isn't a step, there isn't a, so that kind of bit was quite hard sometimes, trying to cope with their behaviours, but having no recourse really if they were naughty, because you can't say, well, your brother and sister will go and do this and you have to stay here, because you're all going in the van, and there isn't any way that they're all missing out.
And what were your highlights?
And Scandinavia was amazing, absolutely amazing. Just loved everything about it. Loved the relaxed lifestyle, like the fact that it was easy to camp. Everybody had kids, were just running around doing their own thing. The playgrounds were amazing. There were no cars, there weren't any people. So we would go back there in an instant. That was our big win. And I think because we were in a motorhome, it was better, because it's so expensive there. Like Norway is astronomically expensive.
Yeah.
Being in a motorhome and free camping meant that we didn't have to pay for accommodation. So that made the trip much more affordable there.
Towards the end of your trip, did you plan what you were going to do when you got home? Did you start applying for jobs, or did you decide to just forget about it until you got back and then see what was going to happen?
A bit of everything. Part of what inspired us to go was the fact that we'd both reached a point in our lives saying, well, actually, we've done a long time in our professions and we would like a change. So we spent a lot of time while we were driving talking about what we might want to do, but we didn't go as far as applying for any jobs. But we had always planned that when we came back, we would give ourselves a couple of months just to focus on the kids getting into school, sorting our lives out, selling the motorhome and all those things before we had to really, really struggle into finding a job. Because I'd been traveling before for 6 months and come back and had that massive pressure of having to find a job immediately.
Yeah.
And then you go on this trip and you want it to be life-changing, and you want to consider the things you've learned from the trip and be able to apply it into your own life. And if you're then forced into immediately finding a job, you just jump back into your old life again, and then all the things you've learned from your trip don't move forward into your new life at home. What most people discover when they go traveling, particularly if you go traveling with children for a long time, is what you value is time, and time with your children, even if they are being annoying. And then if you're forced into immediately finding a job, you jump straight back into, I don't have enough time, sorry, children, we're too busy, got to tidy the house. So I was really keen to avoid that when we got back. Having been traveling before, I'd fallen straight into that trap of life returning to exactly how it was. I was keen to try and avoid it.
I think loads of people see it as a really interesting and inspiring story, particularly like you were saying, it's 2 families coming together. You think that it's accelerated the bonding?
Definitely. It was really difficult when we first got together. The kids did not massively gel. They were all right together, and if you just saw us going out for the day, you wouldn't notice any of the cracks, but they didn't find life super easy together. My 2 children, they're very, very close. They've always been quite close, and they were quite a tight unit, and they weren't very keen on letting anybody new in. So when we left, my son wouldn't even really play in the same room as my stepdaughter. So they would play together with me sometimes, but they really didn't get on that well. Whereas now they do. They play together because they had no one else to play with. They've had to. So now they've learned to get along. So we kind of forced the issue really with them. And it seems to have worked. And
Well,
now they argue like normal brothers and sisters, but they get on like normal brothers and sisters.
It's a really nice story with it, and just having that family bond that you created through the travel is like a really nice sort of outcome